What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Nerd Mode On, and welcome to today's episode where we're going to be discussing the Trial by Fire update number 4. The May update has a multitude of changes that will be making Battlefield 5's multiplayer a more balanced and enjoyable experience for a variety of skilled players. Of course, we'll only be focusing on the changes that are the most game-changing. If you would like to review all of the changes, a link to the official article will be linked in the description of the video for your viewing pleasure. With that all said, let's jump right into the patch notes. First and foremost, we have a few vehicle changes. DICE has improved the turning rate for planes. Bombers should no longer be able to outturn fighter planes. They have also fixed an issue that would randomly cause camera shake and bumps to the tank in first-person view. In addition, passengers that exit your tank no longer block your shots while playing the exit/entry animation. Moving along, we have some adjustments that have been done to weapons. DICE has improved the accuracy and aims sustain fire from the second shot for assault rifles and submachine guns. In a previous update, they actually made these two classes a little less accurate after the second shot, so it's nice to see that they're kind of reverting back their decision on this matter. They have also improved accuracy and unaimed sustained fire for the second shot for all sidearms except for the revolver. Ultimately, follow-up shots and hipfire will be much more accurate than they were previously. Next, let's talk a little bit about the gadgets, considering that we have two crates that are actually going to be making significant changes to the way that you and your fellow allies plays Battlefield 5. According to DICE, in this update they're bringing new changes to the health and ammo crates with the goal to make these gadgets more interesting choices for defensive scenarios. In practicality, what this really means is that crates are actually going to be having some new benefits that are assigned to them. First and foremost, crates now inherit the soldier's speed to increase the throw distance. Crate's throw speed is affected by the pitch angle that enables higher throwing arcs. And lastly, crates now attach to the terrain when landing to ensure that they're always landing in an upright position. Now while that all sounds great and all, of course we have more specific changes being done to the medic crates as well as the ammo crates. Starting things off, the medic crate actually has the most alterations being done to it, so let's start things off there. When selected, heals nearby friendlies in a 2-meter radius from the crate. This effect is interrupted for 2 seconds while taking damage and 1.5 seconds while being suppressed. When deployed, heals nearby friendlies in a 2-meter radius from the crate. This effect is interrupted again for 2 seconds while taking damage and 1.5 seconds while being suppressed. Now at this point you might be a little confused. You might believe that I actually just read the exact same thing twice. Unfortunately, that is not the case. We actually have a significant change being done to the medic crates, and it's going to be very interesting to see how players actually opt to use this benefit. So in actuality, the medic crate actually has two benefits. When the crate is sitting on the ground, it actually has the same 2-meter radius that allows it to heal players that are near the object. Likewise, if the player actually just simply takes out the crate and decides to hold it in his hands, he'll actually be able to heal players while he runs around with the crate. It's going to be very interesting to see if any additional benefits or tactics actually arise from this, because I could definitely see a lot of players using this in some of the more chaotic game modes where you could simply just gather a lot of points by just standing there holding the crate. Lastly, when equipped in the gadget slot, friendly players will be able to interact with friendly medics to get health. Now moving over to the ammo crate, we actually don't see as many benefits considering that the ammo crate actually already has a lot of benefits that the medical crate didn't have when the game first launched. But in this particular case, when equipped in the gadget slot, friendly players will be able to interact with friendly support players to take ammunition. This system is actually very similar to Battlefield Hardline. I've actually already covered this in more details, and of course I'll be linking that video in the description of this video. Now transferring over to lighting, we actually have a very significant change that has been requested since Battlefield 5 initially launched. Over several different updates, DICE has been working very hard to improve this system, and of course they've been trying to rectify the issue that the community has had with the game from its initial stages during the alpha testing. But of course they've made improvements to the lighting on soldiers. This is a shader that makes third-person soldiers a little bit more visible in darker areas. This change is only applied to the multiplayer and the Firestorm game mode. The improved lighting is actually incredibly noticeable on Devastation. It's a light and day difference in many cases, so this should really reduce players laying on the ground with an MMG spraying you down from a very dark corner. Next, let's talk about the implementation of manual leaning. Leaning is a feature that already exists in Battlefield 5 using the auto lean system. With this update, DICE has opted to introduce manual leaning, which allows players to have more control over leaning and the use of this feature in more cases than what auto leaning already allows. Once again, I've actually covered this topic in further detail, so of course I will link that video in the description of the video for your viewing pleasure. And last but not least, let's talk a little bit about some other changes that don't really fit into any one specific category, but are a little bit more broad and maybe things that you've actually experienced as a player. DICE has fixed a bug that would cause a player to be stuck in the death state. The landing roll mechanic is now time-based. Players have to hold the button within 333 milliseconds before hitting the ground to trigger it. Previously, it was far too easy to simply just hold the button down to initiate this particular landing roll. They have also fixed an issue in some cases. A soldier standing still while looking around would not always properly update from the other player's point of view. Ultimately, this should really tighten up Battlefield 5 and should allow you as a player to understand if a player actually sees you or if they don't. They have also fixed a bug in rare cases that would enable a player to fire their weapon and use gadgets while in the bleeding out state. Weapons earned through the class progression are now properly unlocked even if a player leaves the round mid-round. DICE has also fixed the third-person bleed-out timer on the revive icon to properly show the bleed-out rate. This was actually something that I started to notice a little bit more as we were approaching this update, considering that it seemed like the timers were just massively missynced when it came down to when you were able to revive somebody and when you were unable to. And last but certainly not least, we have DICE including the most controversial thing that you will probably see in any of the patch notes from this point onward. DICE states a pizza baker was experimenting with new flavors when he suddenly had an awful idea. He decided to use pineapple as a topping. Having served it to his friends, the reaction was simply, "Huh? Why?" Thus, the pizza was named Hawaii. As you guys can see, the reaction to the community is going to be very visceral. I don't imagine many players are going to really enjoy this particular insert into the patch notes. Of course, it's a very controversial topic when it comes down to your interactions with other people that enjoy pizza as well. But anyway guys, that's really all the information I have for you. I hope you found something in the video insightful and entertaining, but until the next episode, this has been NMO, and I'm going to be signing out guys. Peace!